From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not. For your Tuesday, September 16th, we are watching a very slow moving low-pressure system that will bring rain chances to the area for the next several days. Some of this may even linger into the first half of the weekend. Saturday morning, would not be surprised to see scattered showers linger across eastern KELOLAND. We'll look at our 2-week pattern, which looks to remain active. We'll get this rain to move through over the next couple of days, and then there may be something right on the heels of it as we get into early next week. And we'll follow things up with our snow trend. Also look at Rapid City when it comes to snow over the next 45 days. So we have a lot to get into. Let's go ahead and talk about today's weather, as this area of low pressure will move through Nebraska. And we've already had showers and thunderstorms this morning. We'll watch for things to develop even as early as, say, midday across parts of western South Dakota into the early part of the afternoon, western, southwestern KELOLAND, with our developing showers and thunderstorms. As we do get into the late afternoon and early evening, it's south central South Dakota that will bring in the scattered shower and thunderstorm chances. You do see that near winter, maybe around 5 o'clock. And anything that develops will move slowly to the northeast. You can see by this evening, western and southwestern South Dakota looks like a good blanket of showers and thunderstorms. And that southwestern corner of the state, that's been an area that's been very dry. Seems like it's been very dry over the summer. That's continued into the early part of this fall, so it'll be nice to see some of those thunderstorms across southwestern South Dakota. And then we'll watch a couple of those isolated thunderstorms that can develop south central KELOLAND, as there is that marginal risk that some of these will be strong to severe, as issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Now, I know Futurecast takes us out to midnight, and I'll have another run going out a little bit longer. But it's after midnight that we'll have to watch eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. After midnight, probably toward daybreak, wouldn't be surprised for developing thunderstorms into those locations. Otherwise, much of the widespread rains will be found across western South Dakota. So there's our chance for severe weather today. It is a marginal risk. So that's level 1 out of 5, and that covers eastern, southeastern South Dakota. But mainly in the south central KELOLAND, as this is a slight risk in yellow in central Nebraska. But hail and wind look to be the main threat out of any storms that do develop in South Dakota for later today and into the early part of tonight. Forecast highs, they'll range from the 70s in western South Dakota. Then we'll see our numbers in the 80s to near 90 degrees in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. Our temperatures for tonight will fall to the 50s and 60s. Stay with us. We'll talk about this slow-moving low-pressure system. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Let's go ahead and start talking about this slowly moving low-pressure system. Give you an idea as to what you can expect for the next couple of days. We'll get to Futurecast in just a bit. But we're watching actually 2 areas of low pressure. One will come in from the southwest. Another one comes in the upper layers of the atmosphere. That eventually comes in from the northwest. Notice how that one's trying to come in from Canada. Let's go ahead and change our view and give you a better idea. You could see more or less where we do have these 2 areas of low pressure. One's there to our northwest, and one's settled for Thursday afternoon right along the border of Nebraska and South Dakota. So as we go into motion, and we'll continue to follow these 2 areas as they meet up. Look what happens. The rain chances go up better than 50% for, tomorrow going into Thursday. Friday, we'll continue with this rain across KELOLAND, and I would not be surprised, I know I mentioned this before, but I would not be surprised to see this rain last right into Saturday morning, at least a chance for a couple of scattered showers. By then, we should be behind this low-pressure system by the time we do get into this weekend. And you know what? These temperatures won't change much either. Sure, as we get the clouds, as we get the rain, temperatures will be below average. The average high temperature in the middle 70s to cover much of eastern KELOLAND. But we won't be that far below even when we're behind this system as it moves through for this weekend. I think a lot of us will be at or maybe even a little bit above average by the time we do get into Sunday, with temperatures returning to the lower 80s in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. I showed you Futurecast a little bit ago, and let's go ahead and go a little beyond maybe this 12-hour forecast. So this is during the overnight. As you can see, we're able to pick up on the showers and thunderstorms in the central South Dakota. We'll watch things develop as we go through the overnight for eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. It could be one of those deals where it's late tonight toward daybreak tomorrow that we could see a couple of these scattered showers and thunderstorms in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. And then I think during the day, it's just going to be mostly cloudy. Periods of rain will be found in eastern and northern KELOLAND. More persistent rain here across western South Dakota. And if that happens, that will keep our temperatures in the 60s in western South Dakota, as again, this low pressure system slowly moves across the area. We're looking at thick cloud cover, periods of rain that will continue for the next couple of days. This is during the late afternoon or early evening as the atmosphere tries to reload. It may bring in a couple of scattered thunderstorms. You see how things are dotting the landscape across eastern, northeastern South Dakota, as well as southeastern KELOLAND. Maybe near Yankton, a couple of scattered thunderstorms can develop late in the afternoon, going into the early part of the evening hours. And then we continue with this persistent rain in western South Dakota. So things haven't changed much from the morning to the afternoon to the evening in western South Dakota, as the showers, thunderstorms will be more persistent across the west. We'll continue to watch our scattered chances for showers and thunderstorms, parts of central into eastern KELOLAND. That's tomorrow evening, another round. Showers, thunderstorms expected to move through. And notice how things are coming in from the southeast, moving to the north and northwest as they continue to travel around. Low pressure that's moving through we'll say right along the border of South Dakota and Nebraska. So that's a look at Thursday afternoon, where we continue with these chances for rain. What about the amounts of rain? Now, this has shifted a little farther to the west and northwest when you look at the axis of the heaviest rain. Still labeling things as over 2 inches. Now, that's an average. I wouldn't say everybody highlighted in yellow will get over 2 inches of rain. I think that's probably a good average to see areas of over 2 inches. And then surrounding that, for a 3-4 day period, we could see amounts near an inch. Some spots will get more, especially if you have a stronger thunderstorm to move through. Some spots will get less. Maybe you won't get a thunderstorm to develop. Maybe you're not lucky enough to bring in a scattered shower if you're looking for the rain. So again, that's probably a good average. Near an inch, western, northwestern South Dakota, as well as eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. More or less those areas that are highlighted in green, I really think that those will be the areas that have the best chance to see amounts on an average around an inch. And right now highlighted in yellow, those could be the areas that will see rainfall amounts at over 2 inches. And that does include north central South Dakota, Mobridge. They've been getting the heaviest of the rainfall, it seems like, over the past couple of days. Since this past weekend, they've been receiving some of the heaviest of the rains with the strongest of the thunderstorms that have been rumbling across north central South Dakota. So they may see something like that again as we go through the rest of the work week. We'll talk more about our weather pattern coming up. You're watching Weather or Not. 2-week pattern time. Let's see what's going on over the next couple of weeks. See if we could swing this pendulum maybe the other way, as we've been enjoying, I guess, these above average temperatures for several days now. It's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of time when things start to swing the other way. But I don't think that's going to happen really anytime soon. So we are looking at above average temperatures as we do, I would say, a lot of these days going through the rest of this month, September. I think a lot of these days will end up being above average. Just how much above? Do we have a chance of seeing some 90-degree heat returning? I don't want to say no, but I do think we'll have our temperatures back to the 80s once we get this cool down to occur with these clouds and these rain showers, thunderstorms that are moving through over the next couple of days. So I do think that we will see warmer weather return. And as I mentioned, a lot of these days will end up being above average as we round out the month of September. So here's our 500 millibar pattern. We still have some systems making their way through, but nothing's attached to much cold air, to our north. As these systems do run through, a lot of them tend to be cut off from the main steering currents of the jet. One of them moving through during this week, and then there's another one that settles across the central and southern plains as we do get into next week. And that one may bring in our next shot for rain after we get rid of this double barrel low, if you will. I know that's what Brian Karstens would like to call it when you get these two low pressure systems right next to each other. And more or less, I think these will eventually combine, and then that runs through. Here comes the next one diving in from the northwest, and this takes us into early next week. So we'll have our rains move through over the next couple of days. We'll try to bring in clearing maybe as early as Saturday, but would not be surprised if we still have lingering showers in eastern KELOLAND for the first half of the day on Saturday, then clearing. Sunday's looking dry. And then as we do get into maybe early next week, let's go ahead and go back to that graphic. We are looking at our next system to come in from the northwest. So we'll watch that one run through, see how much moisture's around with it. But something else of interest is notice how it settles here in the southwestern Missouri, and it stays there for a couple of days too. So that's cut off from the main steering currents of the jet, as that will meander into that location, bring in better chances for rain, probably to our south once it gets there. And then we'll see how long it takes for that one to leave. But it's a very interesting pattern as we get into the end of the month. Another low pressure system can race through as we get into the later part of next week. And then this is looking at toward the tail end of the month, we get into maybe more of a zonal flow, things moving west to east across the upper plains. And then we'll just have to time a couple of disturbances that eventually move through that zonal pattern. So again, here's our rain over the next couple of days with this double barrel low eventually combine, and then they'll leave the area for the first half of the weekend. Dry skies on Sunday. Here comes that other one from the northwest as that one drops in. That could bring in some chances for showers, thunderstorms, maybe Monday going into Tuesday. And then as we continue through time and here comes another one from that zonal pattern, bringing in another round of maybe scattered showers and thunderstorms. I know things have been moving rather quickly, but notice how it just continues with these above average temperatures. Everything's staying with this color in the oranges and the reds. That's above average air. Here's some below average temperatures here across the western coast and extending all the way into Alaska. And that's what I like to call our Alaskan connection anyway. When they cool off, we warm up. When Alaska warms up, we cool off as that cold air gets dislodged and moves across the upper plains. So you may have noticed that as we go through the next 2 weeks, that temperatures are expected to remain above average. And here's a look at our rainfall over the next 2 weeks as well. And this is heavily weighted over the next couple of days. So that's look at things through Friday. And then things, they fill in from time to time as we do get into, beyond this weekend with just scattered chances for showers and thunderstorms. So it does look like, our widespread rains will be here as we go through the next couple of days. And then things will be more scattered in nature as we get into next week. Not to say we'll be entirely dry, because we will have these disturbances run through. The first one coming in from the northwest after this weekend, and then the next one over gets caught up in that zonal flow from west to east. And I don't see much moisture associated with this, trying to bring in some of that moisture from the south. But I don't see our dew point temperatures changing much either. They'll stay in the 60s over the next several days. They may fall a little to the 50s in eastern KELOLAND, western South Dakota, expected to dry out a little more with lower dew point temperatures. But I think for central to eastern KELOLAND, we'll continue at these higher dew point numbers in the 60s. So at least we'll continue with somewhat of an active pattern as we go over the next several days. All right, so I'll save this one for after the break. Still need to dial this graphic up. Maybe add some snow to it. Maybe. Why not? See what I can do. Still like some type of snow jingle would be nice too. I'm not saying Christmas music, but some kind of snow jingle, if that's possible. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go ahead and take a look at what is going on with our snow depth. Nothing going on across the United States, and I don't think we get any data coming in from Canada, so can't check out that location. But what's in the forecast here over the next 2 weeks as we see this filling in again to our west, southwest, maybe a little for the higher elevations of the Rockies there. A lot of it falling across the western coast of Canada. So nothing expected here over the next 2 weeks. I just went through a pattern saying we'll have well above average temperatures, numbers in the 70s, 80s may return, 90-degree heat. I'm not ready to say no, but we'll have temperatures for the most part as we round out this month, probably remaining above average. So that's the way things are looking right now. So let's go ahead and switch over to this. This is something that we've been showing. Again, this is a 45-day forecast. So this takes us to the last of October, all right? And then we just follow 100 different members of this European model of where it's trying to spit out some snow. But what I wanted to do is because of course, as we go later in time, it's going to bring in better chances for rain as it should, snow as it should, because we're just continuing to go farther out in time where it's supposed to get colder and the models will think, okay, it's easier to get our snow to go. So I want to break this down, and I did. I said, okay, let's break it down October 10th, 20th, and 30th, see how many members are actually saying, oh, look, we're getting better chances to see snow as these temperatures do start to cool. So let's go ahead and go back to that website, that webpage here, and you can see the timeline on the bottom. That's about October 10th, and I just count up some of these members here, 1, maybe 2. So there's the 10th. Here's the 20th. Take that up. Of course, you got more than 2 members trying to bring in snow. And then, of course, toward the end of the month there on the 30th, I went ahead and counted up all those. Not only for Sioux Falls, but let's go ahead and plug in Rapid City. And look at that. A lot more suggesting that we can see snow into western South Dakota. Let's go ahead and I counted these. We'll get to that graphic coming up in a bit. Ones I did not count, Custer. Okay, looks like about the same as what it was showing for Rapid City. And I think if I remember the spearfish identifier, there it is. And it looks like a little more than Rapid City. In fact, if you look closely, this one is saying nothing. This one is saying nothing. So that's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 models saying nothing out of 100 for spearfish to see their first flakes of snow going out into the last of October. So I always find this to be a little bit interesting when we can maybe get our first snowfall of the season. Just going back to Sioux Falls. Oh, let's go ahead and throw in Aberdeen. Why not? Yeah, it's close to what Sioux Falls is saying. How about Mobridge? They've been getting a lot of rain. Let's see if that switches at all. Yeah, it's about close to what Aberdeen was saying too. So let's go ahead and go to our weather graphics. So what I did is I counted those members saying that, sure, we can get a couple of flakes of snow or get some accumulation, and counted them up, divided it out October 10th, 20th, and 30th. So, of course, these numbers do go up, or the amount of members that suggesting snow do go up. There's only 2 through October 10th, and then it goes up to 10 in Sioux Falls through the 20th of October. And then a little bit more than a quarter by the time we get into October 30th. And look at the numbers for Rapid City. That's getting up there. When you get to 50 and above by the 20th, we're looking at 60 of those members suggesting that, sure, we could have our first couple of flakes of snow by the 20th of October. And then by the last of the month, it jumps to 82, which is typical into western South Dakota and for the hills of western KELOLAND. So it's a trend that we'll continue to follow. But again, as we go through the rest of this month, we'll stay above average numbers. And we're not above average. We're still in the 60s and 70s. But I think a lot of us, for a lot of these days going over the next 2 weeks, will be above average. But something I do want to end on, just for fun, I'll let the music play too. Driving tips on the snow. Have a good day.